Hi, this lesson is on relative pronouns. It's our 5th lesson. And relative pronouns connect a noun or another pronoun with a group of words that tells more about it. Examples of relative pronouns are that, which, who, whom, or whose. So relative pronouns are going to introduce a subordinate clause. It's going to have a subject and a verb. And that clause is going to describe a word that is directly in front of it, which means that the antecedent for the relative pronoun is in the sentence, okay? And as I said, it usually comes directly in front of the relative pronoun. So an example, the house that Jack built has a strange history. In this sentence, the antecedent for a relative pronoun that is house. Okay, that is our relative pronoun. It is connecting the words Jack built, which is a subject verb, to house. Okay, it's providing more information about the house, right? So Jack built the house. So when we say that Jack built, this is what we would call a subordinate clause because it has a subject and a verb. It's being connected with our relative pronoun that. The whole thing is telling us about house. The job of that is to connect the words Jack built to the word house. So we use who and whom when we're referring to a person. So if the clause that's being introduced is describing a person, we use who and whom. We use whose if it's going to show ownership. Okay, so if the clause that's being introduced shows the ownership of the word in front of it, we use whose. And then that in which when referring to places or things. So when the clause is giving us information about a place or a thing, and then we use that in which. The most common mistake is people using that when we're referring to a person. So someone that. It should not be someone that did something. It's someone who did something. Okay. When we use which, we often put a comma in front of it, especially if it's in the middle of a sentence. We never use a comma with the word that. So here's some examples. So the woman who is speaking is my aunt. So who, here is the relative pronoun. It's referring to the woman, right? Who is speaking is our subordinate clause, right? So who is the subject of it is speaking as a verb, right? Who is speaking is actually telling us about the woman, okay? In this sentence, who is the woman speaking? Who is an interrogative pronoun, okay? And it's not connecting anything. In this sentence, you notice this ends in a question mark. This ends in a period because it's put in the middle of the sentence describing woman. It's not the main point of the sentence. The woman is my aunt is the main point of the sentence. In the second one, the man whom I spoke to is my uncle. Okay, whom is our relative pronoun here. It is introducing the words I spoke to. Okay, and this whole thing is telling us about the man, whom is referring to the man. And this is giving us more information about which man it is. It's the man I spoke to, and that man is my uncle. So is my uncle is the main part of the sentence. Here, again, it ends in a question mark. To whom did I speak? So when it ends in a question mark and it's really asking a question, that's an interrogative pronoun, not a relative pronoun. The man whose dog is lost offered a reward. In this case, whose is connecting dog is lost to the man. So whose dog is lost is telling us which man offered the reward. It's not actually telling us about the dog at all. It's telling us about the man. The man offered a reward. Which man? The man whose dog is lost. In this sentence, it's really about the dog. Whose dog is lost, right? So in this sentence, we're asking about who owns the dog. And it's a question. The pie that Nora baked is delicious. So in this sentence, the pie is delicious is the main idea in the sentence. That Nora baked is telling us about the pie. Which pie is delicious? It's the pie that Nora baked versus someone else. So that is a relative pronoun here. It's connecting the words Nora baked. It's referring to the pie and describing the pie for us. Here, that is a delicious pie. Okay, that is standing on its own, right? And it is a demonstrative pronoun where we're actually pointing at like the pie. In this sentence, the book, which has a red cover, is not on the shelf. So we're again, which here is a relative pronoun. It's connecting that has a red cover. It's telling us about books, just telling us which book it is, defining book for us. Is on the shelf is the main sentence, right? The book is on the shelf. Over here, which is the book, it's asking a question again, right? Which is the book? And so it's an interrogative pronoun. Asking the question as opposed to telling us which book it is. Okay?